1 year ago, we met Superskinny's Tatiana and Yasmin and Supersize Darryl and Sandra. They've been following Dr. Jessen's healthy eating plan in a bid to address their weight problems and improve their health. Later in the show, we'll meet them a year on to see what impact their 12-month diet plans have had on their lives. Superskinny Tatiana is broadening her tastes on the diet swap. The 19-year-old grew up in Portugal and turns her nose up at any food that isn't homemade.
I don't know, I think I eat a lot more food when I'm in Portugal because I prefer the food and I prefer the type of food, yeah.
Unlike Tatiana, Sandra's family life has always revolved around meals and food-filled occasions.
This is Mum's kitchen. As you can see, there's a lot of food on Christmas Day. Loads of people come round. That's just a traditional thing.
But Sandra's eating was not always a happy event. Losing her baby son 4 years ago saw Sandra turn to food for comfort.
I just couldn't sleep. I was just like so down. I couldn't really do anything really. Just stopped living. And I think it even got to a point where I didn't even care if I put weight on. I didn't even care.
I just didn't really think that overweight people would have a reason for it. I just thought it just sort of like came on because they started to eat more. But there was obviously a reason for it.
Sandra is breaking through Tat's fat assumptions and changing her own attitudes to food too. The constant meal bombardment finally triggers Tatiana's appetite into action.
Yeah, the first time in the last 2 days I've actually wanted to eat.
Wow.
Tatiana has finally discovered a love of food that will help give her body the nutrients it desperately needs.
It's cheesy coleslaw as well. I love that.
But another night of Sandra's after-hours eating lies ahead, starting at 8 with leftover rice and a pork chop. Next, an 11 p.m. nibble of chocolate bars with a cup of tea, and a Sandra-sized snack of 2 pork sausages in a generously buttered baguette rounds things off at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Sandra's so-called snacks are actually the size of most people's whole meals, and I hope that by seeing Tatiana struggling through these, it'll make her realise just how much food she's getting through every day.
Tatiana gets stuck into her snacking, but Sandra is really suffering.
God, this is like torture.
I'm not finding it that pleasurable either, to be honest.
Yeah. How can I make this bit of orange in the bottom stretch? I'm learning that even if you do have to wait, 6 hours for your food, you're not going to collapse. Your body can cope with it.
But the next morning, Sandra's stomach is rumbling, and she reaches breaking point with Tatiana's tiny portions. It's the Last Supper, and Tat is served some of Sandra's Caribbean home cooking. But Tat's offering of soup without bread is looking embarrassingly measly.
And you're having, oh my God, you're having like, my mum's speciality, rice and peas with beef stew. And I'm having soup. I think I'll get more nourishment from my cherry-flavoured lipstick.
The wonderful thing about our bodies is that we all work in the same way. We all require the same nutrients to function properly, just in different amounts. Here are 5 tips for a healthy diet that will suit us all. Always eat breakfast. It'll stop you snacking on sugary or fatty foods mid-morning. Plan your meal times and your shopping in advance so you don't run out of essentials. Have a small light snack in between meals, ideally a piece of fruit. Never let yourself get ravenously hungry. Just aim to feel peckish. And finally, the golden rule. Always leave the table feeling like you could have eaten a little bit more. Back to our second swap. Supersize Darryl and Superskinny Yasmin are halfway through their regime. Dr. Christian joins them for dinner, as he wants to get to the bottom of Yasmin's self-diagnosed intolerances.
Yasmin, how are you feeling about eating that?
The fish cakes I'm not sure about because I don't normally eat fish.
Why don't you normally eat fish?
It tends to make me feel sick and gives me a migraine.
I really believe that you have not been eating things in a way, misguidedly. I think you can eat more than you are eating.
Yeah.
And I think your intolerances are a way of eating less.
The next day, Darryl pushes Yasmin to the absolute limit with a seafood pizza that is guaranteed to get her stomach in a spin.
And can I ask, I know the prawns, and I know that's chicken, I think. What's that?
Cockles.
Do they come out in little shells, or they do, don't they?
Come out of a jar for me.
I definitely am not going to eat all of this.
How much do you think you're going to eat of it?
I'll keep going till I feel like I'm going to throw up.
I'll go and get the bucket.
I can't eat anymore.
Go on, you can do it.
All of these moments just might find their way into my dreams.
Despite the fact it is wheat-based and covered in seafood, Yasmin soldiers on and is determined to conquer her food phobias, one mouthful at a time.
They'll be gone too many things I have to do, but if all of these dreams...
So, 7 weeks into my mission to slim down and 6 crazy weight loss regimes later, and the scales revealed, I'm 10 stone 9. Which is good. OK, I mean, I've lost 12 pounds, I've lost nearly a stone, but it's week 8, I would have expected more than that. So something drastic needed to happen. OK, I've exhausted every diet possibility in the UK, so there's only one place for it where they take dieting really, really seriously. Almost every crazy diet, fad and exercise regime that's big in the UK started out in the US. The Americans are food and diet obsessed, so I'm on a New York mission to find out exactly what they do over here to shift those pounds. This city is mad. Everywhere you turn there's food and there's loads of it. And there's also advertising for every diet known to man, from the bizarre to the blooming ridiculous. Get this, love this. The Hollywood cookie diet, secret of the stars, and on the side it says, each cookie is a delicious meal. No, it's not. It's a biscuit. Americans have a counsellor for everything. Marriage, sex, life, and yes, you've guessed it, you can now even get one for your diet. I'm hooking up with food coach Jackie Storm to help keep me from caving into all the food temptations New York has to offer. Good to meet you. Hi, now. Listen.
Yes?
I have heard on the grapevine that the latest thing in New York is to have a food coach. What's that all about?
It's about figuring out what to eat, what's good to eat, how many calories does a person need.
Because I have to tell you, I am sorely tempted by the muffins, by those cheesecakes, by the bagels. Oh, I really want to eat them. If I was struggling with that, could I call you and get you to sort of stop me?
Absolutely.
And what would you say?
Just knowing that you're going to be checking in with me, just knowing that I'm going to be looking over your shoulder, you are going to be self-conscious.
It's like having my mum at the end of the phone, Jackie, telling me off. Having got a food coach on board to keep me from temptation, I'm now heading to another part of town to hook up with New York lifestyle journalist Alyssa Shalaski. She's going to fill me in on the latest weight loss diets at a special type of restaurant where absolutely nothing gets cooked. So what is the latest fad?
We're really into the raw food diet, and the people who follow that diet are called rawists. So there's
rawists?
Rawists. Gwyneth Paltrow was the first person to sort of come out and say, I am a rawist. Or,
of course.
Of course.
I mean, I'm from London, so this just looks to me like I've got a plate of salad. What's going on?
Well, it's stuffed endive. The difference here is that the cheese is not made with dairy. It's cashew nuts that is blended with lemon and salt.
And that's pasta, I take it?
Yes, the noodles are yellow squash that's turned out with a spiraling slicer.
I kind of am starting to feel good inside, like you said. Yeah, like soulfully good.
I got quite excited about raw food because on first inspection and first bite, yummy, but then about half an hour later I felt really, really sick. I'm not sure why. I think it might have been all the enzymes and electrolytes going into my body, man. Kind of made me too pure. And, yeah, I felt right gippy. So I had to go and drink a Diet Coke instead. What I should have done was call Jackie my food coach. She might have talked me out of it.
Hi, Anna. How are you?
I'm having a crisis. I'm standing outside a muffin stall. I need to eat one. I don't know what to do.
Don't turn the control of your life over to a muffin. It's about 600 or 700 calories. It's loaded with fat and sugar. It has no redeeming nutritional value. Forget about it and take yourself away from it.
Okay, I'll stay strong. Bye. Well, I have, on your behalf, dear viewer, been on a roller coaster ride investigating all the crazy fad diets that are out there. But actually, I've shifted 1.5 stone by the end of all of this. Some things work, some things are insane. 5 bags of apples coming up. Week 1 was the apple diet for me, which was a bit of a shock introduction into the world of crazy diets. I was beside myself with hunger and just generally being a right grouchy old cow. And at the end of it, I lost 1 pound. My natural tummy tuck massage, I've got to tell you, it worked. I have just done the biggest poo known to mankind. Gillian McKeith would be proud of me. Tell you what, I lost inches off my waist and my hips. The surgery, the smart lipo, I've heard from many, many people, it's a really good quick fix solution, but for me, it went wrong. Bad arm, good arm, fat arm, thin arm. Baby food week. I honestly thought, brilliant, I'm going to be dead thin by the end of the week. It was like eating pots of pureed snot. I really wasn't looking forward to doing the diet pill week. And I tell you what, I think I lost at the end of it about 1 pound or 2. What's the point? The maple syrup diet. Essentially, you're fasting. All you're taking in is water and sugar, and it absolutely is not a good idea. I hated it. Sleep deep. That's perfect. The one diet that worked for me was hypnosis, because it addresses the psychological relationship that you yourself have with food, and it really weirdly, naturally made me want to make healthy food choices. And at the end of my hypnosis week, I lost 3 pounds, which was more than any other diet that I tried. Do you know what I've learnt on this series? There is no secret to weight loss. You just eat a little bit less and you move a little bit more. It's literally that simple. Good luck.